When it comes to what's happening in Wayne County and the North Carolina area, look no further than Taylor House Publishing. If you have a story that needs to be told, please contact us via email at taylorhousepublishing@gmail.com.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we are going to dive briefly back into the Casey Chase situation, but we're also going to include two other players. Now, as the thumbnail reads, you see Anthony Williams, who was a Southern Wayne high school science teacher who went through a very horrific incident. And if you don't remember the video, I'm going to show you that video, but also I'm going to dive into the aftermath of that incident. But we're also going to talk about Mr. Dave Elmore, a former Charles B. Aycock teacher who was allowed to resign after a DWI, but also amid some other more disturbing allegations. Now, how did this video come about? Of course, we're going to talk about the disparity, inequality, more namely racial disparity between each of these three individuals and how they were treated and the extent of their actions as opposed to Mr. Williams' actions. Now, a lot of people, when I talk about racial disparity, they want to label me as divisive, rebel rouser, and even the worst I hate is racist, which means you definitely don't know the meaning of the word. But I am glad that I received this message a few days ago from a Caucasian or white lady. And she lets me know, and you can read along with me. She says, "I've been watching your videos on YouTube. What about the black male teacher? I believe from Aycock." She was mistaken. "He was fired for having a pocket knife on campus after school hours. Yet the white male teacher," in which I think she's referring to Mr. Elmore, "and the white female teacher who did horrific acts toward children get off. Please do not quote me on what happened with the black male teacher, as I cannot recall the details right now. Don't worry, I have the details." And she says, "I also think that the families behind these teachers have a lot to do with it." So, and she goes on to say, after I remind her who he was, she said, "I would love to hear what you say about it." The reason I read that text is because it is obvious to me when these things occur, but when I'm pointing them out, I am deemed as a racist. So I always like when white people who see and she's not the only one I've received message from, but who see the disparity, the inequity of certain treatment, speak out against it and validate, even though everybody knows it, but people try to, somehow ignore it. I love it when this happens. So that is the only way that we can begin to change. When the people that benefit from racial disparities, racial inequities, racial inequalities begin to acknowledge that it does exist, then and only then we can agree to move forward. So back to how this relates to Mr. Williams. Now, we all know we've been following the story about Casey Chase. She was reportedly involved in an investigation at Eastern Wayne High School for inappropriate contact with students. And I have a whole plethora of messages confirming that and substantiating that there was an investigation and there was nothing completed about the investigation because Miss Chase was allowed to resign after the fact that evidence shows and had came out that she was involved with a student. So she was allowed to resign, keep all of her teaching credentials, and then move on to another school in which, as we know now, from emails to Wayne Christian School, that she has also been alleged to be doing the same thing. So now we'll go to Mr. Dave Elmore. And the lady that I just mentioned, you see that she referred to him as well. But I'm also going to show you a later email in which I received, and this was actually earlier, than the email that you just read. Now, this one reads, Wayne County likes to allow the privileged to resign so they can go to some other county. Hence, Dave Elmore, who is now in Greene County. Now, from what I understand, he's now a coach at Beddingfield. Now, this person said he's a pedo. Now, anybody knows what a pedo is, then you know the slang for that, a child predator. His mom and aunt work at the Board of Education. Now, I do not know if that's true, but as you see what she said, it turns my stomach. And she also says, thank you for all you do exposing the opposite sides. Now, back to Mr. Elmore. Now, Mr. Elmore was a basketball coach at Charles B. Aycock in October 29, 2021, if I'm not mistaken. He was arrested for a DWI. Now, at the time, Mr. Elmore was 33 years old, and he was set to appear in court on January 2022, but he resigned right after his DWI arrest. Now, you can read in this article as it says, an employee convicted of a first offense DWI would be subject to a severe letter of reprimand placed in the employee's personal file and be required to participate in a minimum of 2 counseling sessions with district employees assistance program. Should a second offense occur, consequences include further disciplinary action up to and including dismissal, according to district policy. Now, reading those guidelines, you have to ask yourself, why did Mr. Elmore resign after not even being convicted, or before not even being convicted of the DWI? Now, according to several sources that I've talked to, and of course you read the email yourself, it has been alleged that Mr. Elmore had a propensity, had a reputation of being involved with high school students at Charles B. Aycock. Now, articles and posts was written on him, and students and individuals was under the comments alluding to this very fact. Now, it was told to me, reportedly, that he allegedly had a cycle. He would start dating a student around the junior or senior year. When they would graduate, he would then get engaged with them, and then they would call it off. Now, I don't know if those things are true, but keep in mind, when he resigned, he was 33 years old. Now he would be about 35. Now, apparently he had been there for some years. So you see the age disparity between him and students, if these things are correct. Now, allegedly, reportedly, his now wife is a former student at Charles B. Aycock that was under his tenure or tutelage. Now, they are married, and so it alludes to the fact that he may have had that cycle in which was reported to be his method of operations. And so those two examples, Miss Chase and Mr. Elmore, being allowed, and that is why they said that Mr. Elmore was resigned. They said everybody in the school knew it, just like everybody reportedly knew it about Mrs. Chase at Eastern Wayne and Wayne Christian. However, they could not pinpoint it, but everybody knew it. So it was told to me that the board came to him, was like, look, we cannot get rid of you for the DWI, but since there's this well-known speculation that you're involved with these girls, we're going to give you a chance to resign, or if not, we're going to launch that investigation. And Mr. Elmore, exercising his better judgment, went on to resign, right? So we have two teachers reportedly involved in some very despicable acts, allowed to resign by the school board, Wayne County School Board to be exact, and allowed to keep their teaching credentials. Now let's go to the case of Mr. Anthony Chase. Anthony Williams. Forgive me, Brother Williams. I definitely do not want to put that name on you, because Anthony Chase was a science teacher. I think he coached some athletics as well. His wife was a teacher as well. Very beloved, a pillar of excellence in the Southern Wayne High School. When this incident took place, you never heard any foul word about him. What was the incident? Mr. Williams was reportedly at an after-school basketball game. He was accosted by a school resource officer, Mr. Albert Woods, and he was told that the knife that he had in his pocket that he had used earlier during his hiding experiment to take it to the car. And Mr. Williams tried to explain that he was a teacher. He was going to take it to the car, but he was going this way. But the officer told him to come this way, and then you're going to see right here what exuded from that act. Here you go. Just watch along with me. So there you can see him and the officer talking. Now the officer has him by the arm. He starts to grab him. Mr. Williams pulls away. He grabs him by the back. Mr. Williams is still trying to stay in the view of the light, fighting around, yelling. Students, you see them looking. And the officer finally gets him and drags him outside of view. Now I'm going to show it to you again just so you can see. Once again, Mr. Williams is not, violent. This officer overzealously tries to take him where he does not want to go. Actually, that is kidnapping. Actually, he should be charged with abduction. And this incident went very viral. I'll stop it there, but you can go back and look at it. So that incident went very viral. It was circulated through social media. Many people were outraged by this. It caused, several people to come to his defense, come to his aid. There were several press conferences, several articles written, and shout out to the New Old North who covered this instance extensively. And I'm going to show you some articles from the New Old North that exhibited this, and these articles were shared through social media. As you see this one, now this happened a few days afterwards. It says Southern Wayne students stage walkout to protest their teacher's suspension. Now, as usual, when police and authorities do something wrong, they automatically have to criminalize the victim. So what do? They suspend Mr. Williams, and also after, the backlash ensues, they actually charge Mr. Williams. Now, they charge him with having a weapon, which was a pocket knife that he used in a class experience on campus, and resisting arrest. Once again, they're criminalizing this this man who was clearly just at a high school basketball in his capacity as a school supporter and also a teacher. Now, he began to garner a lot of support, as you see this article. A week later, he hires a civil rights attorney, and he will file a civil lawsuit. And then she began to hold press conferences, which few of them, or those I attended, you would see me in the background supporting him, and I actually spoke on his behalf. And it was a real surreal scene, because you have the community supporting this guy, but then you have the sheriff with all of their posturing and their glasses and all of their big boy status out there, like, yeah, whatever. You know, we got them on our side. Them meaning the school board. Now, as the case goes on, the charges were eventually dismissed a couple of months later, but the damage has been done. He was already suspended. Now, how they got him is another very nefarious tactic, in which you see this article. It says that school board cites lying with impunity as part of sprawling justification for unanimous vote to fire Southern Wayne science teacher. So what they did was, a few months later, they fired him. Why did they fire him? Now, mind you, Mr. Williams is beloved by everyone. He's never been in trouble, never been cited for anything. So he's looking for an advocate on the school board. So who does he turn to? He turns to this guy, Mr. Lynn Henderson, the only black man that is on the school board. Now, when he goes to, he goes to Mr. Henderson and, looking for, to explain his case, looking for some advice, looking for a confidant. Hey, I didn't do anything wrong. I really want to teach. My license is on the line. They're trying to fire me. And according to what I remember, now I might be a little off on this, so y'all feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. He goes to Mr. Henderson. He goes to Mr. Henderson's house, and, he goes and talks to him. And somewhere during the conversation, Mr. Henderson says, look, man, I don't supposed to be talking to you. So if anybody asks you, have you talked to me, deny it, right? And of course, now Mr. Henderson is a senior, maybe 60, 70 years old, I don't know. Mr. Williams at the time was probably in his mid to late 20s. So that's what he does. There's a deposition. He has to go in, and, they ask him, has he talked to any board member? And at the advice of the gentleman, Mr. Henderson, he says, no, I haven't. So now, evidently, they got into Mr. Henderson, or Mr. Henderson was a part of the whole plot all the while. Mr. Henderson, they asked him, and he says, well, he did. And so that's where you get this school board cites lying with impunity. So they eventually fired this man. Now, and he continued to fight. I think I attended a civil case with him at the beginning of last year to retain his license. And, his attorney, as you see, Miss Rebecca Cannon, she did a masterful job of presenting his case. Nevertheless, if I'm not mistaken, his license were still denied to be returned to him. So then he moved out, him and his wife and his children, beautiful family. They moved out to the coast. They, started to kind of rebuild their lives. And it's funny because I just saw an inspirational post from him today. And, you can tell that he was still trying to fight, trying to build his case, faith, trying to keep a positive attitude. So he would come online from time to time. I might share a few of those with you. But it was very, very, very heart-wrenching to witness him go through that and to see the machine push this man out, who was a very beloved, as you see from all the articles. And you can go back and read all those articles, the New Old North. They were back in 2022. But to see that man pushed out like that, disgraced, denigrated, displaced, all of those things was very, very, very heart-wrenching. And my heart still goes out to him, because as we see a teacher in Mrs. Chase have a police investigation going on. She's allowed to resign so the investigation stops, and she keeps her credentials. We have Mr. Elmore, who everyone and their mama knows that he's, putting his hands in the cookie jar, so to speak. And he gets a DWI, and he is allowed to retire and go on to Wilson Betterfield to be a coach. Now, you tell me, the double standard. And of course, I'm going to have to do a whole nother story. A lady sent me another story, and she wants me to share about her experiences with Mrs. Chase and Mrs. Chase's close relationship with then Eastern Wayne principal, Mrs. Lee Johnson, which virtually made her untouchable amidst the allegations that were levied against her. So I hope y'all get the point of this video. Many people, once again, always cry foul when I point out this is a black man, and then you have the two white teachers. And fortunately for me, this time I have proof, and I won't show the young lady's picture, but she definitely sees it as well. So it's always good to me when we have an advocate who is willing to set their privilege, let's call it what it is, privilege aside, to point out, yeah, that is wrong. His actions were way less than their actions, but their actions were allowed to be swept under the rug, and they were protected, while this man was denigrated, vilified, degraded, defiled, all of those things in the public opinion, but also in the court. And so please leave your comments in the comment section, man. I have a bombshell story about Goldsboro High School that's going to be coming to you tomorrow, so make sure y'all stay tuned. Also, I want to thank everybody for watching the show. Actually, it's funny, I was in Raleigh last night, and two people walked up to me and was like, "Hey, Mr. Taylor." And I was like, "Whoa, yeah, you don't know me, but," and they were from Clayton, but I knew her father. And then, one girl who was working the snack cabinet was like, "Hey, you from Goldsboro, ain't you? I watch you all the time." And she said, "Yeah, my mom is such and such and such and such." So that's, that's encouraging that people are tuning in, and I'm sharing information that people feel that is relevant, and that is feel that is a benefit to society, and not to mention all the people around town who, I talk to, and they say, "Hey, man, keep doing what you're doing. We need these things." And I really thank y'all. I really appreciate this, support. But, of course, keep supporting the channel, keep liking the videos, keep sharing the videos. We have some new things in the work coming up soon. Tomorrow, actually, we're going to start on those things. So keep supporting. Also, if you have any Memorial Day footage from the day parties and the night parties, I didn't make any of those. I try to make all the rounds on the cookouts and things like that, but I plan on doing a little small mini documentary on the history of the Goldsboro the Dillard Goldsboro alumni, I don't know, my man Jamaris kept correcting me the other day, but the alumni weekend, I plan to put something together, just giving a history of that. So if you want to support the channel, once again, all donations are greatly appreciated. You can send it to my Cash App. That is Rich Money 7777, as you see on the screen. Also, if you have another story that you want to address, you can call me direct 919-587-7782, or you can send it to taylorpublishinghouse@gmail.com. But my heart and prayers once again goes on to Anthony Williams. This is just an example of, the Wayne County School Board and how certain individuals are favored, probably because of their connections. As the lady said, I think Mr. Elmore's mom and sister or whoever aunt works for the school board. So you cannot just disregard that fact as a major factor in the determination of these outcomes. So peace and blessings. Y'all stay blessed. I'm out.